Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and discuss what just happened. Honestly, not a whole lot, but we'll discuss what happened, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff. As usual, if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Make your decisions, do your own research. And again, I do have my membership section now live for $2.99 a month. Pretty much get my intraday thoughts on Tesla stock as it moves, and even other things as well, such as VIX and whatnot. Pretty much important information I think is worth sharing that is related to Tesla stock. I do share there throughout the day as it happens live. So yeah, if you want that, the link is down below, or you can press the join button. But moving into a Tesla, looking like it'll be closing 10 minutes left in the market, but I can't imagine much more happening than this. Looking like Tesla will be closing about 0.8 or so % up in the green, which is not too shabby. Definitely a pretty decent underperformance in my opinion compared to the market, with QQQ being up 2.5%, though I think we all know why that is. I mean, we have NVIDIA just casually skyrocketing 25% after their earnings. I mean, it was up almost like 30%, I think, at the peak over here, which is just absolutely pretty unreal. In all honesty, this is this is quite unprecedented. In all honesty, this is truly absurd. This essentially would be the equivalent of Tesla going up like almost 30% after earnings. The market cap prior to this for NVIDIA, I think, was honestly fairly close to Tesla. It wasn't that far off at all. So yeah, pretty absurd, and that's essentially obviously causing the major movement in tech as well, right? So that's probably the reason for the underperformance. But regardless, let's talk about Tesla and let's figure out what has happened so far. So today, overall, again, a pretty sideways day, right? Not a whole lot has happened today, right? It is a pretty snooze fest of a day. Tesla, trying to follow NVIDIA's footsteps a little bit here, but definitely finding a little bit of issues. And I talked about how I personally, what was this? The first, pretty much the only post I made today. Actually, there's really not a whole lot that happened, but I talked about how I still personally, and this is the first hour of the candle over here, how I personally think that we do overall go a bit lower, and that's exactly what we did. We did go a bit lower. However, even with this, I personally still believe that we will go even lower than this, right? I still think that we will come down somewhere to around 175 to as low as 173, and the bulls absolutely want 173 to 172 hold. That is extremely crucial, important, etc. But I do still believe that we will come down here, right? We did gap fill. So I talked about yesterday how I also think that we'll go a little bit higher to most likely gap fill this 185, almost 186 level here, which is exactly what we did. Came back down from it. We did it first thing in the morning, essentially. Came right back down from it. Gap filled this gap. Gap filled the gap we left in the morning from, I guess, yesterday's close. So both of those are filled, and then we essentially more or less went sideways. Now again, because it's filled, this is roughly what I personally expect to happen, right? I personally still think that we'll go down a little bit lower, right? Set up this little situation here, and then I think we'll rally up from here. And from that, essentially what I think will be caused is as follows, right? I think we'll be causing, or creating rather, something like a little bit of a like a bear flag, or something like a bull flag, maybe a bull pennant. We'll see exactly how it's going to form, but like something like this is what I would personally expect to happen right now, right? Just from seeing these things like this play out pretty often, just seeing these kind of formations happen a lot, right? Just through experience, if you will, just knowledge, I guess. This is what I personally think will happen, right? Something along the lines of that. I'm actually gonna take a screenshot of that. You know what, that to me right there, hey, that's the thumbnail for today, ladies and gentlemen. You're seeing it happen live. Let's go. But yeah, so that's the general idea of what I personally see coming forward, right? Now, obviously, we'll delete this for now. Let's take a look at, more like concrete, if you will, technical analysis, right? So first and foremost, if you go to, let's say, the 4 hour here, right? We talked about this yesterday, but we will revisit it one more time here. But if we take the Fibonacci from this swing low to this swing high over here, you can see, the first level that we got extremely close to bouncing off of was, of course, that 177.65-ish level. But again, to me, the golden zone, the most important area is in between the 0.382 and the 0.5, right? I personally think that this area right here is extremely important, and I do think we'll come down to it. We don't have to come down all the way to the 0.5 level, right? It's not like we have to, right? And I actually don't think we will. We might ever so slightly tap it, but I don't think we actually will come down to it, because they'll be cutting it close in my opinion. But I do think we'll come down a little bit lower than this level here, probably to this blue line over here, which will put us pretty much in between these two levels, which is a very important level for me to pay attention to, because if the bulls fail to hold that level, this will go from bullish to pretty bearish pretty fast, like almost as a snap of a finger. But however, if the bulls do hold that area that I just talked about, again, 175 to 173-ish, give or take, somewhere in that range roughly, that's pretty good. That to me is very bullish. That to me is going to be a very good sign. And I do think Tesla, at the very least, will do something like this, come up, and then at the very least come up to this resistance once again. Oh, not even once again, this technically never touched it, but I think it'll come up at the very least to this resistance to make either a double top, which will be pretty bearish, or potentially even break through it slightly and make its move all the way up to 200, potentially even quite violently, pretty aggressively to 200, because I also think it will end up being a bull trap, and it will be maybe 1 or 2 candles, and then most likely fall back into this overall channel that we, arguably have broke out of if that move actually happens. That's kind of the way I am personally looking at it, and the way I am personally seeing it as of right now. Now, another thing that's important to understand, right? So the SPY is, first of all, we talked about this yesterday. Let's go on the daily, right? Is teetering right on this on this line right here, right? Obviously, my line's not at the most picture perfect line in existence, could be slightly off, but the idea is the fact that yesterday SPY broke out of it right here, and now it's pretty much sitting right on the line here. So that's important to understand. On top of that, we also have a situation where we talked about before when VIX broke out on this candle 2 days ago, how if it doesn't maintain above 20, that's good for the market, right? However, if VIX maintains above 20, that's bad for the market. And essentially yesterday we went above 20, pretty much got right back down to $20. And on top of that, today you can see it came back up to 20 again, and it's essentially falling from there again. So extremely important to understand this. If the VIX is below 20, that gives markets room to run essentially, or continue running or whatever, right? However, if the VIX ever goes above 20 and starts closing above 20, like a daily or something like that, meaningful candles above 20, that's where, in my opinion, the market starts getting very, very spooky. So to me, this situation only plays out if the VIX continues to remain under 20. That's extremely important, in my opinion, to understand. Because if the market drags Tesla, if the market starts falling, it will most likely drag Tesla down with it. So just keep that in mind, right? But nonetheless, the RSI is not looking too bad on the daily, right? I still wouldn't be surprised if it does come down a little bit like this, somewhere around here. This will be this move right here, most likely, and then we overall rally up, and we'll probably even higher, honestly. To me, it'll be really important to see if we do go higher. Let's say we go to 200, does the RSI go higher than this level right here? To me, that will be extremely important to understand. So I'll be definitely paying very close attention to that, and we will revisit that more, in more concrete detail, more precise detail as well, as or if it happens, right? So that we'll save that for another day as to when it's more worth, I guess, talking about. Also on the daily, let's talk about the overall indicators, right? So we have the 21 EMA, we haven't even touched it, right? That's why I still think we can come down, right? I still really do think that we'll come down to this 21 EMA, which is around the 175 to 76 level, come down a little bit higher than yesterday's level, which is 178.2, right? And most likely bounce off of that, which also coincides with the 50-day moving average, which we already actually did bounce off of. So that's, I'll bring up another important point, and you also have the 100-day moving average not far below as well, right? Sitting at almost 175 as well. So that very important level. There are two pretty major indicators that dictate kind of short to potentially even medium term momentum. So if we bounce off of those two, let me pull up the 21 EMA again. If we bounce off these two lines right here, right, fantastic. Honestly, that's exactly what the bulls want to see. But again, if we collapse under these two lines, indicators, the 21 EMA and the 100-day moving average, and also this blue line, and also this blue line as well, that's where things, like I said, start going from bullish to bearish quite quickly. So just very important to understand that, guys. Very, very important. But right now we're kind of in limbo land in between these two closing prices over here. Tesla almost can't decide where it wants to go. But again, I personally do believe it will go down one more step to around that level of 174, give or take, and then probably get a nice little bounce from there, assuming we hold. But that's the main thing I am personally looking at right now, ladies and gentlemen. So let me know what you think about it down below. Something else I want to mention just now, I forgot what it was exactly. Oh yeah, I want to mention how, because yesterday we did bounce off the 50-day moving average, there is still a possibility that this 50-day moving average was the low and we don't actually go lower. That's obviously extremely possible. Like, I want to make that very clear, right? At the end of the day, no one knows for sure what is going to happen. No one knows exactly. No one has a crystal, ball that will just tell them the exact price and the exact level to the decimal that Tesla will go to. You're insane if you think that's even remotely possible. It's all about educated guesses. So with that being said, right, there is still a possibility that this bounce off the 50-day moving average, which is a phenomenal moving average to work off of, right? It respects it. If you look at it, in its history, it does respect it pretty well. Like, ever since we broke it down over here, that's when the massive move fell or started happening. When we broke up from here, that's when we had a beautiful continuation of a rally, bounced off of it here, then we fell from here, came back, retested it, followed by another move to the downside. Now we're back above it, potentially retesting it. So, very important. So that's why I think even if we do come down to like the 173 level, maybe like tomorrow or like early next week, I think it'll be a pretty fast buy the dip situation to where we'll potentially not only bounce off of, let's say, the 21 EMA, for instance, right? But also on top top of that, get a bounce off of that, but also still close the daily candle above the 50-day moving average. That's kind of what I would personally foresee happening if I had to take a wild guess here for now. You know what I mean? So that's getting a little bit too specific, right? The more specific you get, the more difficult and unpredictable it becomes, right? So I don't want to get too specific on it, but if I had to, that's what I would foresee happening. You know what I mean? But again, that's more of like food for thought as opposed to something that's, you know, I guess important, if that makes sense. But anyway, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but that's essentially what I'm seeing, guys. You know, very low volume today on Tesla, by the way. The market's about to close exceptionally low volume. This is abysmally low. This is probably the lowest volume we've had since all the way back here in December of last year. So very abysmal volume. Not really, and I'll be honest, it doesn't really mean that much to me here because it's, in all honesty, this candle with the way Tesla's looking right now, it doesn't look that bearish or that bullish. It looks very lost right now, almost as if like people don't know what to do with it right now after this NVIDIA move. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, do we go up? Do we buy the, you know, Tesla for AI, or do we just sell Tesla and buy NVIDIA? Like there seems to be a bit of confusion right now for Tesla, which usually leads to a bit more downside in my opinion, at least for now. Again, that's what I see, guys, something like this. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm seeing. Let me know what you think about it down below. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you check out the membership down below. Only $2.99 a month. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.